ready to get crazy again. That's right, because we have the one, the only, Mike Glazer, comedian extraordinaire, coming on the show to get a little crazy with us and just talk about everything comedy.
Yeah, man, it's a really fun interview. Well, no pun intended. He is a comedian after all, but he does get into some serious topics, about cancel culture and the dangers of the internet and social media and so many other things and how it all ties together. He also, an interesting little thing that he talked about that I was really excited about with the interview is how you can kind of run into a burnout situation as a comedian when you're touring and you're just saying the same jokes over and over and over and over and over for a long period of time. And the people who are seeing you haven't heard them, but you have over and over and over. And how does that play on a comedian? When is it time to just set it aside and start something new, work on new material kind of? So that's a really interesting part of the conversation that was really, if you're an aspiring comedian or just anybody trying to get into entertainment, learning to say, okay, step away from this, start something new, maybe come back to this. Yeah, man, it's a really great interview.
That's for sure. Yeah, he put out his first special, Life Rules, recently on YouTube.
Yes.
You can find that on his YouTube channel. And yeah, he said he's been working with the same material for 3 years.
Exactly.
So imagine saying the same thing for damn near 3 years. It's insane. It's insane. But I'm super excited about that interview. I'm super excited about this show. But that interview is later on in the show. Now, let's get a little crazy. Hello, everyone. So you want to start a podcast but have no idea where to start? Well, Crazy Ant Media is here to help you. We want to assist you finding your VFE. What's VFE, you ask? Well, that is your voice, your format, and your equipment. These are the 3 biggest essentials you need to start your podcast. All those hours watching non-stop YouTube videos or all those random website links, those are done. Just hop on a Zoom call with us and we'll talk about everything you need to know to create your own podcast and find your voice. Plus, we will send you home with a 12-page packet over everything we just discussed. It's very in-depth. It is definitely a must-need while trying to start your first podcast. Contact us at info@crazyantmedia.com today so that you can start finding your podcast voice for tomorrow. What's up, guys? Oh my goodness, episode 260.
Woo!
That is insane, man. We are walking on water. We are the new Messiah. All bend the knee. We are here to stay, your number one source for entertainment news and the best conversations you'll ever hear on podcast platforms. Us here at Crazy Ant Media for 260 episodes. You know your host with the most, myself, J-Lo Fantastic, and the one and only Mal.
What's up? I can't believe.
Oh, man. I know.
260. I was figuring it out the other day, and that means we will hit the milestone 300th episode sometime in March. In March, we will hit 300 episodes. That's crazy, bro. Like we will be in our 8th year when that happens, and it's just, we're already blowing through. I can't believe how many episodes we've already gotten in our 7th season. It's just so crazy, bro. But we love every second of it, man. We wouldn't do it for this long if we didn't love it. So, I have a blast.
Exactly. It's an amazing thing. It's almost like it's making conversations more natural.
For sure.
When it becomes, having conversations over podcasts and then turning conversations in real life into, just trying to get to know each other more. Podcasting really has helped us be better conversationalists just out in the real world. So it's been very fun. And I mean, to be able to do it every single week with your father-in-law, it's pretty cool.
Well, it's a great point because we talk all of the time about the importance of setting down the phone. Face-to-face communication, just one-on-one or with a group of people, have that conversation and don't worry about that little electronic device. And we get to at least once a week do that. We get to put it aside and just talk and discuss things that we want to talk about, share our opinions, laugh, cry. Sometimes we get pissed. And yeah, it's an amazing thing because it's a genuine conversation. It's not just
Exactly.
And if yeah, dude, it's been amazing. And to say that we've been doing it for almost 7 years and to be able to have that outlet every week is just an amazing thing. And for all of you guys to play along with us and have those conversations with us, it's even more exciting. And we love the feedback. We love that you guys are loving it and keeping it us around that long. So thank you.
Yes, for sure, for sure. But you guys know we are also filmmakers. And
Yes.
we are in pre-production of our next film, The Lesson Plan, which there is social media out for it right now on Threads and Instagram. So be sure to follow that film page, the LP Film, on Instagram and Threads. You can get some behind the scenes looks, some casting announcements, and a couple of other things.
Yeah.
We've got some great content coming your way. So be sure to check that out. And if you head over to our Kickstarter page, you can join the team as well. So be sure to go through the rewards and maybe even donate if you feel so inclined. So we appreciate everybody. I mean, it's only been up for 5 days, the day of this recording, and we're at $616. That's pretty amazing, but we still have a long way to go. But I mean, for everybody who's donated, thank you so much. It means the world. Like, it really does, especially when it comes from family, but it's even more surprising when it comes from absolute strangers.
Yeah.
So we can't thank everybody enough for taking time to just watch our pitch video, go through everything that our Kickstarter page has on there, all the details of everything, but we just can't thank y'all enough.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know. It's moving when somebody connects to your project and wants to help see it made. And I'm glad you brought up the behind the scenes stuff, because if you follow the accounts, we might, especially if you're an aspiring director or filmmaker, give you a little, or an actor, an inside peek at what it's like auditioning via Zoom these days, right? COVID changed the game, and so now your live reads are about 95% over Zoom instead of in person in the room. And so maybe we'll give you a little sneak peek at how one of those goes, a little behind the scenes. And I think that's going to be really cool for people to see and go, oh, so that's the process now, kind of a thing. So all kinds of really cool content like that. We're going to take you on the ride the whole way from start to finish of making this film to when it's released. And I think it's going to be a really cool thing for all y'all to follow along. So definitely check that social media out.
Yes, that's for sure. That's for sure. And before teasing the rest of the show, of course, be sure to leave a rating on the podcast. Comment below and tell us what you actually think about this podcast. Because if you didn't know, leaving a rating and giving some thumbs up, giving some stars, all the good things, it actually helps the podcast get seen by more people who enjoy entertainment news, but especially those who are trying to break into the entertainment industry. Us here at Crazy Ant Media are very, very, very passionate about lending a helping hand to the next generation of filmmakers, next generation of podcasters. Just if you're an all-around creative, we want to help you. So never feel like you can't reach out to us. info@crazyantmedia.com. You can always email us anytime. Dustin and I will both see that. And then, of course, like I said, with you sharing and talking and commenting underneath any podcast things that we do, that helps this podcast get seen by more people. So it's a very big community that we try to support. So support us while supporting you. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. But we definitely have a whole bunch of industry news for you. It's going to be an amazing show. That is for sure. Of course, we have the Disney news. We have Warner Brothers. We have Netflix, which, I mean, Netflix has been having some juicy news recently.
They
and
have
I just
been.
started the new season of Bridgerton, and so far I'm loving it.
So far it's doing really well.
Exactly. We'll be talking about it, man. We'll be talking about it. But before jumping into everything, be sure to head over to our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. You can buy podcast merch. You can buy our mental health, everything's okay merch, which, by the way, we just released an episode last week about social media. So be sure to check that out. And, you know, we have a little bit of everything for everyone.
Yes.
That is for sure. So be sure to head over there and follow us on social media so you know when there's promotional sales, because we don't want you paying the whole price for something. That's why you got to follow us so you know when you can get 20% free shipping, that type of thing. So we want to help you, help us, help you. It's all the things, man. That's what we're doing here, Crazy Ant Media. But, of course, we always start the industry news with the juggernaut, the Mouse House, the one and only Disney. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman's Deadpool and Wolverine is off to a supersized start and set a new record for first day advance ticket sales for the country's largest movie circuits. That's right. Tickets went on sale Monday for Marvel Studios' sequel, which officially opens in North America July 26th, following previews on the evening of July 25th, of course. Now, AMC Theaters chief Adam Aaron says about 200,000 movie fans have bought their AMC tickets already. Now, online ticketing service Fandango, which services a majority of movie circuits, also reported a brisk first-day sales for Deadpool and Wolverine, saying they were the best of 2024 to date, as well as a franchise best and the best for an R-rated feature as well.
Oh, yeah.
Now, while neither Fandango nor AMC provided dollar figures, insiders say the first-day sales are likely around $8 million to $9 million already. So that is freaking insane, man. No doubt about it. This film's going to be a massive blockbuster hit. So we're super excited about it.
Yes, and I hold to what I've said. This will be the one that brings Marvel back to what we expect from Marvel. It will break $100 million. It will do whatever it's about. And I'm just loving this thing because they're everywhere. The Heineken commercial is fucking hysterical. They've got a thing to tell you to turn off your cell phones in the theaters. That's hysterical. And rated R, it's Wolvie just being classic Wolvie. He's like, hey, bub, you're not in your fucking grandma's jerk-off room at the senior center. And he just starts just dropping F-bombs left and right, and Deadpool's like, whoa. You kind of, when you say that, make my dick vibrate. I think it's my dick. It's that kind of, guys, it's that kind of movie, and Disney's all in on it, and Ryan Reynolds is like, I can't believe they're letting us do this, but here we go. I think this thing is going to be just epic from start to finish. And when you have such success with mutants, it only makes sense that the key mutant team in the MCU needs to get going. And it looks like it's finally going to be doing that, you guys. The X-Men are indeed one step closer to joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe with their own movie. Screenwriter Michael Leslie, he wrote the Hunger Games Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, is in talks with Marvel Studios to write the first X-Men movie since the mutant superhero franchise was acquired by Disney in its purchase of 21st Century Fox, of course, back in 2019. Now, as with every Marvel Studios film, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Kevin Feige, will produce, but nothing else about the film has been set, including a director or a cast. So, we don't know. Marvel has been slowly seeding the MCU with mutants over the past 2 years, though, including brief mentions in 2022's Ms. Marvel and Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and appearances of the X-Men's namesake and leader Charles Xavier in an alternate universe in 2022's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and of course Beast himself, played by the one and only Kelsey Grammer, in the post-credit sequence of 2023's The Marvels. And they said a mention in Ms. Marvel, but guys, they also disclosed she is a mutant. They're changing that from the comic book. So Miss Marvel is a mutant. So they're laying the groundwork, man. And I'm hearing they're looking at Ryan Coogler to direct the. I would be all in on that. He'd fucking kill it. I mean, I hope that happens.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, we've all been wondering when the freaking X-Men were going to show up in the MCU, and we're getting closer and closer every single film. So I'm super excited about it because they've been laying those Easter eggs forever.
Yes.
So super pumped, man. Super pumped about that. But we're also super pumped about Marvel Studios tapping Star Trek Picard's executive producer, Terry Matalas, to resurrect the one and only Vision.
Yes.
The symbiote played by Paul Bettany for a new Untitled Disney Plus series set for 2026. Now, Bettany will return to the role, and of course, Terry will be the executive showrunner, so he's rocking and rolling with all of that. And the new show will take place after the events of WandaVision. Now, the Ghost Vision presumably explores his new purpose in life. Now, with Terry coming on board as showrunner, this will be Marvel's first new live-action series picked up in about almost 2 years. Now, an earlier version of a Vision series had been in development with WandaVision creator Zach Schaefer, but Schaefer's attention turned to running a separate WandaVision spinoff, Agatha All Along with Catherine Hahn, which is set to premiere in September. So it makes sense that they outsourced another showrunner and another person to actually take the lead on this show. So it's exciting, though, because it did leave a lot of questions up in the air after WandaVision. So I'm excited to see what comes of it.
Without doubt. And Terry Matalas is, if you watched Picard, he is fucking brilliant. That show was incredible from start to finish. And, of course, he had a synthesoid data. Like he had an android robot, so he knows how to handle these things. And the storyline that he had with Data was just insanely awesome. So I love this move. I think Marvel, like I said, they're fixing the ship. They're getting their shit right. They're moving in the right direction. Speaking of an awesome show, Carmy and company are back. They just released the first full trailer. They did that little teaser, but they released the first full trailer for The Bear Season 3. And as you guys can probably guess, he didn't freeze. He didn't die in the freezer, obviously. Duh. As the prodigy chef, played by, of course, the one and only Jeremy Allen White, opens the new restaurant alongside Sydney and Richie, they find themselves once again sparring, because that's what they do. This is a dysfunctional kitchen, Sydney says, to which Carmy and Richie respond in unison, show me a functional one. Yeah, it's back to normal, guys. They're back to normal. All episodes, as always with this series, will drop on June 27th and be available to stream on Hulu. So they always drop them, boom. And I love it. I love that this is the one show that I'm happy they drop them all at once. Because I just gun through them. And then I get pissed that I don't have it to watch, but I gun through them. I love this show, man. Season 3 is going to be awesome.
For sure, man. For sure. Love to see it. Well, we're hopping over to Warner Brothers Discovery and their next big tentpole franchise film, Fruoja, the Mad Max saga, is off to the races at the box office this holiday weekend. Now, director George Miller's R-rated prequel to the Mad Max Fury Road has made $3.5 million in previews so far. Now, the Warner Brothers action film is expected to bring in about 40 to 45 million over the 4-day Memorial Day weekend. Now, roughly the same as what Fury Road made across 3 days back in 2015. Now, if you're looking to refamiliarize yourself with the Australian wasteland and George Miller's Mad Max franchise before you see this latest adaptation of Fruoja this weekend, you are in luck because all 4 previous films in the beloved Mad Max series are available to stream on Max right now. That's right, the Mad Max franchise consists of Mad Max 1979's, Mad Max 2 in 1981, Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome in 1985, and then Mad Max Fury Road in 2015. That, if you all remember, Tom Hardy led that one. So we're super excited about this. It's not Charlize Theron, but I mean, we love Anya Taylor-Joy, so we're excited to see what she does with this role. That's for sure. I mean, she had a standing ovation at Cannes, I think. So
she did.
Congratulations to her.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, she's playing the younger version of Charlene, right? Yeah. Yep. So I'm in. I'm going to check this one out. Super excited about this next one too. And fingers crossed, guys, because I have to say it a lot of times. So maybe Michael Keaton will pop up behind me. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Warner Brothers has released a new trailer for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, the follow-up to the 1988 comedy horror classic, of course. Michael Keaton returns as the foul-mouthed, shape-shifting ghoul, joined by new cast members Jenna Ortega, Willem Dafoe, Monica Bellucci, and Justin Theroux. Now, reprising their roles from the original film are Winona Ryder and Catherine O'Hara. Beetlejuice Did he come? Did he come? Oh, come on, man. They sees the Dietz clan move back into their Winter River home after a sudden death in the family. Now, when Lydia's rebellious teen daughter Astrid discovers a portal to the afterlife hidden in the basement, the name of the mischievous spirit Beetlejuice is inevitably repeated 3 times, inviting him to wreak havoc in the Dietz family home once again. Now, Tim Burton does return to produce and direct the Beetlejuice sequel from a script by Wednesday screenwriters Alfred Goff and Miles Miller. Beetlejuice will haunt theaters September 6th. I'm so ready for this one. It's been forever. It's like Keaton is just killing it. I just keep bringing him back. Everything, keep bringing him back. That's all I'm saying.
That's funny. That's funny. And I mean, speaking of bringing people back, Jeffrey Wright has joined The Last of Us Season 2 at HBO. And now, if you don't know what I mean, Wright will appear in the role of Isaac, whom he previously played in The Last of Us Part 2's video game. The character is described as a quietly powerful leader of a large militia group who sought liberty, but instead became mired in an endless war against the surprisingly resourceful enemy. So it sounds like he's going to be a quiet, reserved badass in this next season of The Last of Us. And I'm super excited to see him and Daddy Pedro go head to head. I think that's going to be a good face off and great scene partners. That's for sure.
Oh, without doubt. And Jeffrey Wright's like, he's also just everywhere. There's a handful of people now that, you know, the Glenn Powells and stuff. Jeffrey Wright's one of those people. It's just like, it seems like every week we're talking about this guy showing up somewhere. Keep killing it, my man. Speaking of killing it, and I'm not very fucking happy about this one. I'm, in fact, pissed. Girls on the Bus, not going around and around, guys. Breaking just before we started recording the show, actually, we learned that Max has canceled the political drama after just 1 season. Thus ends the show's long road to the screen. If you remember, we talked about this for a long time. It was originally set up at Netflix with a series order back in 2019. But that was dropped by the streamer, reportedly after production was pushed back because of the strike. Because of the pandemic. It then moved to the CW for development in 2021 before actually ending up at Max, which was HBO Max back then, with a series order in 2022. I just continued strife with David Zaslav. This motherfucker just cannot figure out what to keep and what not. He has no idea what is good. This is the best single performance of Melissa Benoist ever. It's a phenomenal show. In fact, if it doesn't win a shit ton of Emmys, I would be surprised. Like, legitimately, at least nominated. And so, of course he's going to cancel it. Of course he is. You know, remember Batgirl and all the other, it's just like, this guy. Can we just...
It's like, what's the point? It's good. It's good. I don't understand.
Can we just cancel him? I just, like, bye, David. Bye. Somebody. Just somebody get rid of him.
Exactly.
Watch the show, though.
Exactly. We're heading over to Paramount. Veteran producer Simon Kinberg, who oversaw most of the X-Men movies for 20th Century Fox, is in talks to produce an upcoming Star Trek movie for Paramount Pictures. The project has already been in development at the studio for some time now, with Seth Grahame-Smith from Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter handling the screenplay, and Toby Haynes from Andor and Black Mirror USS Callister on board to direct. Now, insiders say that this film is intended as an origin story for the main timeline for Star Trek. Now, rather than an alternate Kevline timeline started in 2009 Star Trek, set in the aftermath of humanity's first contact with aliens. Now, this Star Trek prequel will also be produced by the one and only J.J. Abrams, who has overseen all Star Trek movies through Bad Robot since 2009 Star Trek, which he directed, if you guys didn't know. Abrams is also producing a separate Star Trek film intended to be the final mission of the Kevlin timeline cast, including Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and Zoe Saldana. So we'll see how that goes. It seems like that's the franchise he's sticking to. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it sounds like they're going to end the Kelvin timeline before they launch this. Okay, here we're getting back to Kirk's actual, like, Bill Shatner's Kirk timeline again, which is going to be interesting to see how they do that. And man,
I think that's good though, because I mean that clears up confusion.
Yeah,
I mean we've seen like Warner Brothers overlap stuff like that, and I feel like it clears up confusion.
it was because a lot of people were like, what is Kelvin? Is this an alternate universe? So how can they both be kind of a thing? But apparently they're going to get rid of it, and it's just going to be Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and the gang's actual. But this will be because they said what happens after First Contact, which we saw in Star Trek: The Next Generation First Contact. We see how that happened when the Vulcans made First Contact with it. So now we're going to see what happens after that and prior to Enterprise, which is going to be really cool, I think. And speaking of, they just keep rolling with this franchise, obviously. The Star Trek Starfleet Academy series at Paramount Plus has cast Holly Hunter in the lead role. Hunter's character will serve as the captain and chancellor of the Academy, presiding over both the faculty and a new class of Starfleet cadets as they learn to navigate the galaxy in the 32nd century. Now, Starfleet Academy will begin shooting in Toronto later this summer. And get this, guys, it'll be featuring the largest contiguous set ever constructed for a Star Trek series, a central academic atrium that will span 2 stories and include an amphitheater, classrooms, a mess hall, and an idyllic walkway lined with trees. Now, with its focus on higher education, from the throes of budding romance to the pressures of academic achievement to the angst of painful self-discovery, Starfleet Academy is part of a wider strategy by the company now to expand on what a Star Trek show can look like. So they're trying to stray away from the standard and try to, I like this. I think it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, completely agree, man. Completely agree. Well, it's the beginning of the end for the beloved series Yellowstone, as production has now begun on the final episodes of the mega hit series. The show is once again shooting in Montana on the second half of its 5th season. Now, of course, the first half, which consisted of 8 episodes, originally aired November of 2022 and January of 2023. The second and final installment, which will consist of 6 episodes, is slated to debut on Paramount Network in November. Now, Paramount has also commissioned 2 new series set within the world of Yellowstone. Of course, 1944 and a contemporary series titled 2024. No further details have been released about either series since they were originally announced in November of 2023. But then now 2024 will reportedly feature new cast members and locations with some crossover characters as well. I'm betting that's the one with Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
But it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited to see how they finally end this series. I feel like it's going to be rushed, sadly, and it's not going to really, make a lot of people happy because of a lot of behind the scenes drama, but it was such a good show at the beginning.
Was such a great show. My guess is Jamie's going to be successful in killing off Daddy, and he's going to sell off the ranch, and then Beth and the boy are leaving. And I bet they'll be the crossover stars in the new series because they're probably gonna. If the ranch is gone, Beth has no reason to stay, so they'll go and that's my guess on how they're gonna do it. That's if I was a writer, that would be how I would do it because I'd for sure after all the drama kill fucking Kevin Costner off. I'm just saying.
For sure.
Okay, let's go over to NBC Universal. Guess what? Stevie's got a new movie coming out. I'm talking about Steven Spielberg. He's lined up his next feature film, which will be released in 2026. Now, Universal Pictures is backing the movie, which will open in theaters on May 15th of that year. It's unclear what the Untitled project, which the studio describes as a new original event film, it's all about, though it has been previously reported that Spielberg is working on a UFO story. Now, David Kopp, whose previous work with the filmmaker includes Jurassic Park, War of the Worlds, and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, is writing the script from a story by Spielberg himself. Christy Maskow and Krieger will also produce the film. So he likes some UFO gigs, man. He's all in on the extraterrestrials. So we'll see where this one goes. I think it'll be good. I mean, it's Spielberg, for Christ's sake.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Well, Lionsgate and Grindstone Entertainment have acquired the rights to the comedy The Duel, executive produced by and starring Dylan Sprouse. Now, The Duel is about a modern group of friends falling apart, and the craziest way to deal with it by bringing back dueling. Now, marking Sprouse's first project as executive producer, the film will hit theaters via Lionsgate and Iconic releasing at the end of July. In support of its release, a number of cast members will be in the audience attending this weekend's Indy 500 parade, where I am originally from, which will include a car and racing helmets themed after this film. So that's very exciting. I wish I was there. Today is the day of this recording is Carb Day, so all you IMS Speedway people know, it's a great day to be alive.
Indeed. All right, let's jump over to A24. They have apparently nabbed the U.S. rights to The Death of Robin Hood. Now, this was one of the hottest packages at this year's Cannes Festival. The Sherwood Forest set film stars the legend Hugh Jackman and Jodie Comer and is directed by Michael Sarnowski. Now, the filmmaker, of course, is behind the critically acclaimed Pig and this summer's A Quiet Place Day One. Now, according to the official logline, the film will find Robin Hood grappling with his past after a life of crime and murder. Instead of the Mary Qualo seen in the certain previous versions of the story, like the one portrayed by Errol Flynn, this Robin Hood is a battle-worn loner who finds himself gravely injured and in the hands of a mysterious woman who offers him a chance at salvation. Now, production on The Death of Robin Hood is set to begin in 2025. A24 will release the film theatrically. Negotiations were highly competitive with several potential buyers circling the film, but A24 won it. So there you go. Sounds like Wolfie, doesn't it? Like battle old loner. That's I'm all in. I love Hugh Jackman. Anything he's in.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Well, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is nearly unrecognizable in the first look at his upcoming A24 drama, The Smashing Machine. Now, this one is directed by Benny Safdie and co-starring his Jungle Cruise screen partner, Emily Blunt. The film casts Johnson as legendary MMA fighter Mark Kerr, who struggled with addiction and his marriage while becoming an icon in the sport. Now, Blunt is starring as Dawn Staples, Kerr's wife, and the film is currently in production. While Johnson looks typically ripped as Kerr in the Smashing Machine first look, he also appears to be sporting some facial prosthetics to help him transform into the MMA legend. Now, Kerr was a two-time UFC heavyweight tournament champion and World Val Tudo Championship tournament winner. Over the course of his career, he won over 24 MMA titles. Now, The Smashing Machine marks the solo feature debut of Safdie, who collaborated with his brother Josh on A24's indie hits such as Good Time and Uncut Gems. A24 has not yet announced a release date for The Smashing Machine, but boy, oh boy, if you guys saw that picture, it does not look like The Rock. When I first saw that, I was like, huh? I had to really look close, but I'm excited for it, man.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this guy was a legend. If anybody early on was watching, you know who he is, and yeah, that photo was, man, well done on the makeup there, guys. Let's jump over to Amazon MGM Studios, where this is kind of exciting. The Nurse Jackie sequel is apparently a go, guys. It's now in development at Amazon Prime Video, with original star Edie Falco set to return. It was first reported in 2023 that a Nurse Jackie follow-up was in the works at Showtime from Lionsgate Television, but the project has now moved to Amazon. Now, the official logline for the series states, 10 years after we left Jackie Payton, clinging to life in the series finale, we find her back on her feet in spite of losing her nursing license. The continuation of her story will find her facing new dilemmas and trying to be a good in the world where being bad is often not only easier, but a lot more fun. The original Nurse Jackie, of course, aired for 7 seasons on Showtime between 2009 and 2015. It served as Falco's first major starring vehicle post The Sopranos. And garnered Falco 6 Emmy nominations for her time on the series, winning the award for Best Actress in a Comedy in 2010. So it was a huge hit, and it's not always easy to come off a show like a juggernaut like The Sopranos and follow up with a hit, but she did it, so good for her. I think people are going to tune in for that one.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. Well, Dove Cameron and Avan Joga have been cast to lead Amazon Prime's video thriller series Obsession, which was ordered at the end of last year. Now, the series is based on Catherine Ryan Howard's novel 56 Days, and per the official description, it follows Oliver and Sierra, who, after meeting randomly in a supermarket, fall for each other very fast and very dangerously hard. 56 days later, homicide investigators arrive at Oliver's apartment to find an unidentified body brutally murdered and unintentionally decomposed. Did he kill her? Did she kill him? Intercutting between an intense single day and the present investigation and the twisted trajectory of the young lover's affair in the past, the series is both a unique crime story and a riveting, erotic, psychological thriller. Now that sounds wild, man. That's for sure.
Yeah, that sounds intense. That sounds really intense, but okay, go for it. All right, now we're going to jump over to Netflix, and it seems like in the past year or so, we haven't had a ton of Netflix news, but today they have the most news, guys. They had a lot of stuff coming out, like you said at the top of the show, out of Netflix, so let's jump right into it. They have tied up a deal with $34 million buy for the John Lee Hancock directed package, Monsanto. Now, this film will star, as we said, the one go-to guy in Hollywood right now, Glenn Powell, Anthony Mackie, and Oscar winner Laura Dern. Now, Monsanto tells the true story of a young, untried attorney, Brent Wisner, who takes on a seemingly insurmountable case against the giant U.S. chemical company Monsanto on behalf of Dwayne Lee Johnson, who used Monsanto's best-known product, Roundup, a wildly financially successful weed and grass pesticide killer, as part of his job as a high school groundskeeper. Now, during the trial, Dr. Melinda Rogers, the chief toxologist of the Monsanto company, testifies with certainty that Roundup is safe. But as we all know in the real-life story, is it? This will be a good movie. That's a phenomenal cast, so good for the $34 million, man.
Right? Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Benoit Blanc is back to solve another murder for Rian Johnson's third Knives Out film titled Wake Up, Dead Man. Johnson announced the title along with the 2025 release date and a teaser posted to X this morning, Friday morning.
Yep.
Wake Up, Dead Man will be distributed by Netflix as part of Johnson's 2 sequel deal with the streamer, worth about $450 million. Now, despite the first film distributed by Lionsgate grossing $312 million at the global box office, Netflix put out Glass Onion with only a limited theatrical release, collecting mere $13 million before launching it on streaming, but they were presenting it as a streaming movie in general. So, and I mean, it still did pretty good. It was a fun movie.
Yeah, no, it was good. And I guess, it did well enough. If you're going to offer the guy $450 million for 2 of them, I guess you feel pretty comfortable. Hey, right. I'm super excited about this one. We saw the little teaser a couple of weeks ago. Now we got the first full trailer. Netflix dropped it for Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. The 4th installment, of course, in the franchise, and the first in 30 years. Now, Eddie Murphy is reprising his iconic role as the wisecracking, butt-kicking detective in Los Angeles. The film also sees Judge Reinhold, my buddy John Ashton, Paul Reiser, and Bronson Pinchot returning as well. New additions to the franchise include Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Taylor Page, and Kevin Bacon. Now directed by Mark Malloy with a script penned by Will Beall, Axel Foley is back on the beat in Beverly Hills. After his daughter's life is threatened, she and Foley team up with a new partner and old pals Billy Rosewood and John Taggart to turn up the heat and uncover a conspiracy. Beverly Hills Cop Axel F is slated for release on July 3rd, and I am fucking pumped. I can't wait for that one, man. 30 years, a long fucking time, man.
It really is. It really is. Well, season 3 of Bridgerton hit 45.1 million views in its opening weekend on Netflix. Now, that's a whopping success for the Regency era drama. Now, the second season debuted in 2022 when Netflix still released viewing hours in terms of hours watched, with 193 million minutes watched across its 8 episodes. When divided by that season's 8.5-hour runtime, that translates to about 22.7 million views, barely over half of Season 3's debut. Now, exact data for Season 1's debut weekend is unavailable, though it is known that it was outpaced by Season 2's. Naturally, Bridgerton Season 3 was the most watched title on Netflix during the May 13th, May 18th window by a landslide. Now, Season 1 and 2 also got a boost, landing at number 4 with 4.5 million views and number 8 with 3.3 million views, respectively. So it only makes sense, man. People like to watch things at their own time and their own pace, and they're definitely doing that with this show. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. I don't see this one going away anytime soon. I really don't. Another one that's not going away anytime soon, apparently, and we're super excited about it, is My Next Guest Needs No Introduction with David Letterman. It's been renewed for a 5th season at Netflix, which will consist, guys, of only 2 episodes. Yeah, 2 episodes. I said that right. In which the venerated late night, 2 episodes, host interviews Miley Cyrus and Charles Barkley. Well, if you're only going to do 2 episodes, that's 2 good guests to do it. Now, previous guests, of course, on My Next Guest have included Barack Obama, Volodymyr Zelensky, Jay-Z, Malala Yousafzai. I never say her poor. I hate that I can't say her name. Malala Yousafzai and Billie Eilish. Now, most recently, Letterman interviewed John Mulaney in a special episode separate from the previous seasons. Now, each season of the talk show, which launched back in 2018, has been nominated for the Emmy for hosted nonfiction series or special. Of course, because he's freaking epic. If you guys have never checked out that show, you should go back and watch all the interviews from all the seasons, because they are freaking phenomenal. They really are.
Yeah, you learn so much about people. It's really freaking cool.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. And before leaving Netflix, if you guys haven't watched Kevin Hart's Mark Twain ceremony, it was freaking awesome. Like, there's so many good, like, motivational pieces out of there. Like, Kevin's speech at the very end literally made me cry.
Yeah.
But so be sure to watch that. It's a great ceremony. I love when they present this award, and I didn't know, fun fact, Richard Pryor was the first one to ever win that award for comedy.
Yep.
So which is very fun. But now we're rounding out the industry news with Apple. Guys, I know I'm about to go on a cruise, and Emily may or may not come back, but promise me, I did not kill her. Those words are repeatedly being heard from Jake Gyllenhaal's Rusty in Apple TV Plus's latest trailer for a legal thriller, Presumed Innocent. Released this week ahead of the show's June 12th premiere, the trailer begins with a voiceover by Gyllenhaal's Rusty Sabich saying, "Love isn't what people tell you that it is. In my experience, it's just something that grows until one day you find yourself needing someone." Now, it's the beginning of a steamy affair that ends up with Gyllenhaal's Rusty looking guilty for murder. But is he? That's the question. Is he? Who knows? But yes, it looks interesting.
Yeah, no, it looks fantastic. This is, of course, based on the original movie with Harrison Ford. But yeah, it's, man, it's intense. It's intense. And it's got Ruth Negga in it, who I love. She's phenomenal. It's a really good cast. So I can't wait for it. I'm definitely excited to check that one out.
For sure, man. But now it is time for Mike Glazer to come on the show. Boy, oh boy, he is a stand-up comedian based out of Los Angeles, originally from freaking St. Louis, Missouri. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Like to be able to come from there and go there and be successful, all the good things. It's an amazing story that I'm super excited for people to listen to. It was definitely me stepping out of my comfort zone, stepped up to the plate and handled the interview by myself because you were feeling under the weather. And
Yep.
man, I'm really happy with how it turned out,
No,
to
it's
be
really
honest. I
good.
really am.
Really good interview. Like I said, you did really well, and you pulled a lot out of him. It was fun. It was informative. It was great. I can't wait for everybody to listen to this one.
That's right. That's right. Well, here he is. Mike fucking Glazer. Welcome inside the Crazy Ant Farm, man. How are you doing this evening?
I'm chilling, dude. How are you feeling?
Dude, I am living the dream, living the dream. My name is Logan. I forgot to say that in our pre-interview, but I'm super excited to talk to you this evening because I'm a very big comedy fan. I try to listen to all the comedy podcasts and try to watch all the specials that are across all the streamers. So, man, before coming on, I did a little bit of my research and made sure to watch your special that's up on YouTube right now. And bravo, bravo. I want to give you your flowers. You did an amazing job.
Thanks, dude. It's like the first 6 years of my stand-up into a half hour, and I'm really glad to put those jokes to bed and move on.
I can imagine, man. I can imagine because I mean, you know that repeating yourself so many different times when you're on the road and trying to travel, just doing the same material, I can imagine gets very tiring. You know, you love the jokes that you come up with and you're proud of them, obviously enough to put them in a special. But I feel like, once you say them so many times, I bet you're just like, okay, is it time where I can just move on to something new, to play with something new, you know?
Yeah, like you've got to finish the script, right? Like you've got to
Mm,
finish the movie. If you keep editing the movie forever, then you're never going to grow. Like you just got to hit send. So
yeah,
it feels good to just hit send on something and see it through, finish it. And then the response was my goal was 1,000 views and it's at
yeah.
like 57,000 now. So like, what are we talking about? You never know how things are going to work out when you just put yourself out there.
Oh yeah, that's for sure, man. That's for sure. And I know that can be a little, anxiety inducing as well because I'm a filmmaker myself. Myself and my business partner Destin, we're both filmmakers, and we started this podcast to try to make more connections in the entertainment industry while also telling different entertainers stories like how they got started in it and how they were in on their journey so that people who are listening who may want to get into the entertainment industry can learn, all of our pitfalls, all of our successes, so they can learn how to navigate their own careers and their own lives. So, I mean, you came from St. Louis, Missouri. Now, personally, I'm originally from Indiana, and there was Crackers. I don't know if any other comedy clubs up there, but were there some comedy clubs in St. Louis to where you were able to start to try out material before going out to Los Angeles?
Yeah, I mean, like the Funny Bone was in this
Mm-hmm.
place called Westport Plaza. And I remember Westport because it was so rad. Like on weekends, they would have street performers there and buskers.
Oh
So like
shit.
my family for like, to tip people, there'd be like a juggler and a magician and like a woman swallowing swords, a
Damn.
mime, and it was wild. So like every weekend, my family would take me there, and we would see all these buskers out in the streets. And then the comedy club, I couldn't get into it, of course,
Of
because
course.
I wasn't old enough. But Funny Bone was like the spot, and then right next to that was an arcade. And so, like, yo, I spent so much time at Westport Plaza just playing like Simpsons video games and watching people juggle. It was amazing.
Hell yeah. And I mean, it's always funny being out in your natural environment because I feel like that's what sparks a lot of topic for comedy specials and comedy acts that they put together because one of my favorite comedians is Tom Segura and I love the way he tells stories. So to be able to I just became a married man. And so a lot of his act is, being a married guy or now, raising his children and things like that. So to be able to kind of relate to different people who are performing this way, I feel like is very fun. And right now, I'm actually about an hour outside of New Orleans. And like what you just said, about St. Louis where you go on the weekends and you see all of these different things, all of these different walks of life to where you're you're inspired to tell this experience to so many other people who you come in contact with because I feel like, there's some crazy people out there that you don't necessarily think are real. You always think they're a character. And, when you get up on stage, do you feel like you're portraying a character of yourself, or do you feel like you're completely transformed into a different person?
Yeah, nah, my whole goal is to be the same person I am off stage and on stage. It's like, I mean, if I'm in front of the camera, if I'm behind the camera, like whatever it is, I'm just trying to go through life as me. I can like turn different knobs and dials on my amp and,
Mm-hmm.
play different chords, hit different notes, play different melodies, but ultimately I'm trying to be me up there. And the more comfortable I am as myself, the deeper I can get, the wider I can go, the funnier I feel. Like I don't really buy into the whole, well, that's not fair. I don't I don't have much interest in being a caricature of myself or being a
Mm-hmm.
persona as much as I want to be like the most me I can be. Like my favorite comedians are Neil Brennan, Mark Maron, Tom Segura. I don't feel like
Mm-hmm.
Tom Segura is very different on stage versus off stage. Like, you
Right.
know what I mean? Like I the whole point is you want to feel like you know that performer and you have a real connection with them. And if it's like straight up Gallagher up there, like you don't know that dude, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like who are you? Who are you? And why am I here to see you besides catching watermelon in my mouth? So like I don't know how I all I want to do is get as successful as I can while being the most me I can and being the funniest I can while doing it. And I think that's like the ultimate goal is to like just be funny and feel funny and not really sweat the rest of it.
Yeah, man, completely agreed. I mean, you're doing a great job at it. Before you hopping on the Zoom call, I was going through your TikTok and you just like having the utmost appreciation to just what you're doing right now in life. I feel like, is very inspiring because when you sold out Netflix as a joke. I thought that was monumental and I'm sure you did as well. And to see you come on the public platform and just share your emotions at that point in time, that takes a lot of courage, I feel like. But it goes back to you saying that you want to be as authentic as possible, right? Because on social media, I'm sure a lot of people just post all the good stuff, all the all the stuff they want people to see. But it's also good to see humbling moments like you just shared on your TikTok. I thought that was really special. And I mean, you did it basically with your friends, your family, non-represented. So that was absolutely amazing. And I mean, that takes a lot of work to do. That takes a lot of work to brand yourself and market yourself like that. So kudos to you, man.
Thank you, dude. I really appreciate that. I'm fucking sick of the shiny, man. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so sick of the shiny. I feel like my audience is people in their like 20s, 30s. Maybe they're getting a little married, maybe they're getting a dog or two,
Mm-hmm.
having the conversation about having a kid. And I think they're sick of the fucking shiny too, man. Like social media went from Facebook, where it was, we didn't know what it were like MySpace, Facebook. We didn't really know what it was. We're just sharing who we are. We're trying to connect
Right.
with people all over the world. And then you get over to Instagram and it's pictures of people's toes with their feet in the sand and it's all aspirational and it's like high society. It's all like only the good stuff. And then you get over to Twitter and it used to be really funny and now it's mostly like check out my asshole, it's in my bio or whatever that is. And TikTok is the only place where I'm seeing people talking about who they are and what they want to do. Like there is ASMR, there's something for everyone, but
Mm-hmm.
man, you can be yourself on there and it resonates and it hits hard. I'm tired of being lied to by our politicians. I'm tired of being lied to by 80-year-old men and women who insider trade on the stock market to make tens of billions of dollars. I'm tired of a country feeling like we are calling millennials the lost generation, calling Gen Z lazy. I'm sick of all of it. My dad still watches the news. Dog,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing? You still watch the news? Like, what are you talking about? Where are the real people? Where are the real things? And if I can be a part of that and share who I am while walking down the street, that's all I want to do in life. And hopefully it resonates enough that people want to come out and see me live. I'm just sick of this shit, man. I'm tired of it.
Completely agree. I mean, you need that authenticity to put out there because, like you said, there is that so much feet in the sand where they're putting on the filters to where you don't see the realization of what people are doing. Getting out and actually speaking to people about what's going on is what is most important because that's that human connection. Because I feel like, since the start of social media, I would say at least with Instagram back in 2013, something like that, you do have that disconnect, right, between people who don't even feel like they can talk to other classmates or other people who are in like circles. So it's kind of interesting to be able to navigate this world that we live in. I definitely feel like social media isn't as important as what it was like 4 or 5 years ago. I definitely feel like, I don't, there's just so much hate and so much drama out there that you're right. There's so many lies. There's so many manipulative like things that are happening on social media that I feel like not a lot of people like to appease to it or listen to what anybody else has to say, so they just stay inside. So that's very interesting. I love that viewpoint though. And I
Well,
mean,
how do
not
you
to get
find comedians? How do you find comedians that you like? Because, like, okay, so on my side of the industry, all agents and managers, they're like, you
hmm
need to get 100,000 followers, you need to get your socials up. And at a certain point, you do because you got to sell tickets. And how else are you
right.
going to reach people if it's not on like Facebook or IG Reels or something like that, to find your audience? And then
hmm
hopefully they come out and see you. But if you're saying that's not how you do it, like, how do you move through the world to find people and things that you're interested by? Like what do you do to find that filmmaker, that new thing that you're into?
Oh, for sure. For me, I'm really big into podcasting. Obviously, I have two podcasts that I do, the entertainment based one that we're doing right now. And then I also have a mental health one that, I talk about my journey and my struggles and all that things like that. But I love listening to not only like Two Bears, One Cave, Your Mom's House, Joe Rogan, sometimes when I have comedians on, best friends, but I also like listening to a comedian named Ryan Sickler. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. I
Sure.
love his Honeydew podcast where he highlights the lowlights to where he's bringing people on there who I haven't necessarily heard of before. And then I go after the fact and listen to or watch their comedy or listen to their podcast that they have because podcasting is such a big space right now too. So to be able to have different mediums, I feel like is very genuine because I feel like the beauty behind podcasting is growing up, I always loved hearing my relatives, my parents' stories. Like that's why I became a storyteller. So to be able to feel like I'm sitting in a room when I have headphones in, I'm just listening to people's stories and listening to people's thoughts and opinions about things. I think that's how I gravitate towards comedians or just different people in the entertainment industry to try to navigate my own thoughts and opinions and then also what things I like and don't like from their perspective. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's a cool answer. I agree. I agree completely. Like my algorithm right now is hockey goalies,
hmm
sneakers, and cats.
Hell
Like
yeah.
there's no comedy on it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there's no new comedians coming through my wavelength. It's unless you are a comedian who has a cat and you make a lot of cat content, like I'm probably
Right.
not seeing it, you know? So
Yeah.
that's interesting to be like, yeah, the only way to find people is you find those people who are kind of they've made it in a certain way and then they
hmm
want to highlight the next generation or those people that they really like want to support. And that's, I guess what you're saying is word of mouth is better than anything, whether it's like a podcast word of mouth or anything else. Like that cosign is what matters the most.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And I feel like right now, I'm sure you've heard of this show as well. Kill Tony. What Kill Tony is doing right now, Tony Hinchcliffe is absolutely amazing. It can be hard to watch sometimes, because they all go up for a minute to try to do a minute set, and some people are not good. They either don't have good material or they get stage fright to where they just bumble and jumble and forget their entire minute. But I feel like what they have been able to do since the start of their program is be able to introduce new comedians, new up and comers to everyone on social media, but also
Yeah.
on, the podcast platform. Like Cam Patterson, he is
Dude.
absolutely a dog, man.
Yeah, and he's great at stand up. Like
Yeah.
he like just because he pulled out a rock, everyone's like, okay, now
Yeah.
what? Like you better also be good at stand up. You can't just be the dude with the rock. And he's great
Right.
at stand-up, 100%. I would argue that Tony Hinchcliffe is one of the five most powerful people in this industry right now.
Yeah.
And a testament to him is he also has his own stand-up career. He has his own roast career that
Yep.
was on track with Kill Tony. And I think that's even harder to do. I think most people, you start as a stand-up comedian, you get a podcast, you have a hit podcast, and then everyone's like, oh, I didn't know that they were a stand-up also. No, 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 not in Tony's case. Tony has had these parallel tracks blowing up at the exact same time, and he's able to do all of it. And that is, I think, unheard of in this industry to kind of have it all like that and be able to break new people. No one can do what he's doing right now. He's the only one.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, what he was able to do at the Tom Brady roast, I felt like was spot on. He was probably my favorite, roaster of the evening. I mean, and it's so interesting to see how the public has reacted to the Tom Brady roast, right? Because I feel like you have a lot of people who are very into it, very, this is what this is, like this is what the roast is. But then there's some people because of the woke culture that we're in right now, but I also feel like we're trying to get out of that, that are completely against a lot of what people are saying. So what do you think about cancel culture and woke culture, especially with something like a roast? Like, just how do people try to, keep those people out of, their head, keep the woke culture out of their head? As a comedian, how do you continue moving forward?
Well, it's called a roast. So shut the fuck up.
Boom.
What are we talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that because I mean, you're right. Because everything Jeff Ross has done, whether it be with Comedy Central or now Netflix, it's been that. It's been exactly what was portrayed on this specific roast. And now Tom Brady coming out and said, I didn't like what it did to my kids and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, hey, dude, you signed up for this shit. So that's
Exactly. I
just
don't
something.
I don't know that cancel culture is it's a bit of a catch-all, right?
Right.
Because it can involve like a joke. Like I saw a Sam Tripoli joke where he just flat out said the N-word, and I was like, I hate this
Damn.
joke. I hate
Wow.
this material.
Mm-hmm.
I hate this. Was he canceled for it? Probably not. Did he put even more butts in seats by saying that joke and putting it online? Yeah, 100%. So what are we talking about as cancel culture? Are we talking about like the fact that white dudes are saying, I can't say this, I can't say that, but then they say it and it puts even more butts in seats for them and they get another 100,000 followers? That doesn't sound like canceling. That sounds like an upgrade through manipulating the fucking idea of cancel culture. No, what is canceling anymore? Is it Nikki Glazer crushing on the roast and then doing a tour of every huge fucking podcast afterwards and then dropping an HBO special? Well, that doesn't sound like canceling. It sounds like a comedian at the top of their game who had an amazing run and is one of the 10 best comics in the country right now. That's a Nikki Glazer move. So like TJ Miller is back. He called in a
It's true.
bomb threat drunk on a train, and now he's
That's true.
performing in Oklahoma. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
I
So,
know.
so Bill Cosby's out of jail.
Yep.
Harvey Weinstein is out. Like, what is a cancel culture these days? Does that just mean you're either using it to grow your audience in a way that you seem advantageous? Is it who's being canceled? And who deserves to be canceled? I don't have any of those answers, but I know what's not for me. And so I just don't fuck with it. If it ain't
Yeah.
for me, I don't fuck with it. And then the market can decide the rest.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. I guess the situation that really comes to mind in the recent history is kind of the Matt Rife domestic violence joke. Because I mean,
Oh, yeah.
specifically for my algorithm, like since all of that stuff came out, I haven't been seeing a lot of his stuff. I've been seeing some of it. But I mean, he's also still working out new material. He just put out a special, like we talked about at the beginning. Once you put out a special, that's when you go back to the drawing board and trying to figure everything out. But I definitely feel like, because just like I said, with word of mouth, with the people who I have talked to, they were kind of taken back by that. But I'm like, you don't understand comedy. You don't understand what was happening there. And it honestly, when we're talking about jokes, it wasn't that bad. It Oh, my dog's about to throw up over here. Who knows?
Hey.
Uh, Hairy Palms, Hairy Palms. But anyway, yeah, I just feel like, I don't know like how people are going to try to get out of being so sensitive. That's the biggest thing for me. I don't When do we get to a point where we stop being so sensitive?
When it stops garnering attention,
Hmm.
when everybody has an outlet for their voice that doesn't get attacked right away, whether it's right or wrong to you, I don't think it ever stops. I think like, okay, my my feeling on Matt Rife is twofold.
Hmm.
Let me think for a second. I think that joke was a real it's a it's an easy street joke. That joke's been around for a million years.
Yeah.
I think he took some big swings in trying to do something on Netflix that is not thought of as his wheelhouse. He's thought
Hmm.
of as like doing a ton of dynamite crowd work, extrapolating, getting deeper, connecting with people all over. I haven't seen much of his material before that special. And he took a big swing by trying to do something edgy that we don't really see as his type of performance. Was it a good special? I don't think so. Do I think my first special, Life Rules, is going to be the best thing I've ever done? Hell no, it better not be. So take those big swings and then keep it pushing. The dude sold out Hollywood Bowl. That is 17,000 seats outside in Los Angeles during Netflix Fest. You mean to tell me that his street joke that didn't hit and was kind of honestly not a great joke to begin with has any repercussions except he gave something a shot? He sold 17,000 tickets to the Hollywood Bowl. Dog, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He sold out the world in a day. He sold out the world in a day. It doesn't matter what you think of him. It doesn't matter if you think he's a good comedian or not. He sold out the world.
Mm.
So, how whatever you think is probably right for you. I'm not a massive fan of kind of like jokes where you are talking with like somebody who's autistic and not making jokes and instead just being like, wow, you're so cool. What a superpower. That to me isn't a joke. But then I saw him do some crowd work material with a woman in a wheelchair and he ripped the room apart. And it was one of the funniest things. I was like, damn, old boy's got skills. So
Right?
is all his shit for me? No. Should it be? Probably not. Like I have favorite albums from comedians, and then I
Hmm.
have albums where I'm like, I wasn't really feeling that one. That's the game. So, find more comedians that you do like. Go find Laurie Kilmartin. If you've never listened to Laurie Kilmartin, you should be listening to every single album by Laurie Kilmartin. Like find those new comics, especially because I think you saw my tweet about like the top 10 things we saw at Netflix Fest.
Yeah.
It was like Sebastian and Jerry Seinfeld. Like, oh,
Yeah.
word? Oh, really? Was that the best thing you saw? Comedians who have been at the top of the heap for the past 50 years? Great reporting, absolute ice-breaking material. We don't want to break anyone like Jordan Jensen. We don't want to break anyone like Niles Abston. We don't want to break anyone like Mike fucking Glazer. No, no, no.
Hmm.
We want to write about how Snoop Dogg did another gangbuster performance just like he did at WrestleMania. Like, what are we doing? Where are the people who are breaking comics? Where's the reporting that says Deborah DiGiovanni is one of the best comedians you need to hear about? Where is it? And it ain't nowhere. So for all the Matt Rife hate and all the Matt Rife backlash, I would say maybe a better choice is to go find comics who you should be fucking with and highlight them instead.
Great freaking point. Great freaking point. Yeah, because there's so many. I feel like, because I was listening to it was either Two Bears or Your Mom's House. Is there a set of older generation comedians who do welcome in the younger comics, who do like try to help put them on a platform to where they can get introduced to a wider audience? I've been trying to like wrap my brain around that, but I mean, I feel like a lot of people consider Joe Rogan's podcast like the best thing. And once you get on there, you're supposed to be somebody of somebody, right? I mean, in your opinion, do you think there's any like grandfather comedians that are very welcoming to new up and coming comedians?
Man, so many. I've had so many comics be so nice to me. It's
Mm.
wild. Like, it's really important to me that I am earning the respect of the people I look up to in stand
Oh
up.
yeah.
And so when I go with the new half hour I did for Netflix Fest, I like
Hmm.
sat there and asked myself, like, would if Mark Maron happened to be at the Comedy Store while I was performing and I was on stage doing this joke, would I feel proud to do this in front of him or would I feel like a fucking, sham? No, I'm proud of this. I'm proud of this. I'm
Hmm.
proud of this. I will never forget when um I was doing my show at the Comedy Store Glazer's After Party,
Hmm.
and um Neil Brennan was just released Blocks.
Hmm.
And so I texted him and I was like, hey man, Blocks was amazing. Would you want to come just run a bunch of new stuff at my Comedy Store show next Thursday? I'll throw you on the poster, go up whenever you get there, leave when you're done. He was like, yeah, great. And he shows up, he throws down a stack of paper so high, and he's basically going from premise to premise, reading it, crushing still. But when things are and are not working. He does about a half hour, goes,
Hmm.
okay, thanks, bye, grabs his papers, goes out the back door, disappears into the night.
Oh
Cut
shit.
to a week later, and I get to do his new material show at the West Side Comedy Theater. And I go up there and I work on this joke about how Cobb salad was invented after Dianne Feinstein was born, who she's dead now, but she was the Democratic Speaker of the House, I think, or something. And like
Hmm.
she predates Cobb salad. So why is she in our government at all? Like crazy shit. That clip goes viral on my Instagram, and it's all because like I got Neil Brennan allowed me a platform on his stage to run my own new shit and try new shit,
Hmm.
which is at a premium here in Los Angeles. You really can't fail as much as you'd like to on stage here because it's, kind of scary in case some Ted Sarandos is in the audience or something like that.
That's fair.
But that kind of like give and take between comedians who have a built-in audience. They're doing their thing. They're happy to take stage time, I hope, on my shows. It means a lot if they say yes. But then to also be like, yeah, do you want to do my new material show afterwards is a really like important gift that I think keeps the comedy scene humming. And I think when too many people are taking all the time, that's when it gets ugly. That's when there's a lot of inside feuding. That's when there's like a lot of like desperation and sweatiness in the scene, and that doesn't bode well for anyone. You want harmony, you want a community, and I think you look at the not elders, you look at the more established comics to kind of set that tone, and then hopefully the people who are coming up like myself can all support each other and get there as well.
Yeah, that perfectly said. Perfectly said. And I mean, when you're growing up, when you're young baby Mike Glazer, when you're,
Yeah.
watching television, when you're watching either Comedy Central, who is what do you think was the first ever special you ever watched? Because I remember watching Raw on YouTube. That was my first ever comedy special. But then I got
Really?
into like the Ron Whites and, the different ones of the world. I think forget his name. But yeah, I'm just very curious because, you hear a lot of Richard Pryors, you hear a lot of, Eddie Murphy, different people like that. But who was that for you?
Mm, okay, I can think of like four different things. So sorry. I would say number one was Nick Swardson's
Mm.
Comedy Central Presents. If you haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen that, it's incredible. It's kind of the impetus of the movie Grandma's Boy,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. Lil Rel Howery, if you know
Oh,
Lil Rel from
yeah.
Get Out,
Mm-hmm.
or I guess maybe he goes by Rel now. He got rid of the Lil. But his Comedy Central Presents is all about Chicago, and he plays like an older black father on a Bluetooth, and he plays like what he calls like a hood rat buying alcohol, and his hand is like making all these like he is so into all of these characters, and it's one of the most spectacular half hours of comedy I've ever seen. I also love The Far Side, which isn't a comedy special, but goddamn if I don't like those single panel cartoons by Gary Larson. And what else? Jack Handy's Deep Thoughts. I saw those pretty late in life, but they really spoke to me. I have a bunch of his books here. I love
Yeah.
like the eloquent, compact, tight words that end on the most absurd punchline in the world. It doesn't even make sense. Gosh, who else was great? I remember the first time I bought like every single album. I put together a tour for myself from like Chicago all the way through Tennessee, Kentucky, maybe back and then back up through St. Louis into Chicago. And
Oh
I don't
shit.
remember. It was a lot of driving. It was a lot of
Yeah.
sleeping in Walmart parking lots with a knife underneath my pillow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fuck
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Have you been there before?
No,
Oh,
no.
dude, you got to sleep in a Walmart parking lot
Oh
holding a
my
knife. You've never
God.
lived. You
That's
got
crazy.
it's great. It's fun. You just yeah, you keep it
That's
tight.
a story, man. I mean, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, anyone who knocks on the window, you just kind of roll over and you're like, "What?" And then they see the glint of the blade
And
on
they're
the
like, "Ooh, okay."
yeah, on the Walmart street lamp and they keep it pushing. Um and for that I bought I somebody said you should check out Doug Stanhope and I'd never heard
Hmm.
of him. And so I just on a whim I was like, I'll just buy every single one of his albums. Just
Right.
like if I like it, let's go. And I just listened to all of them nonstop for that whole drive. I had never heard of him, and then I heard all of him. And he was like, I was like, this guy, if I could do like my own version of this and get that good, that would be amazing. Like, I don't want to rant and then just come across as like some crazy dude. How do I make my beliefs funny? How do I make my beliefs in our government, my beliefs in humanity funny and not just rant up there, which I think is, easy to do, but uninteresting. So
Mm.
yeah, Stanhope comes to mind too. Um, and then my first concert ever was Weird Al. I
Oh
remember seeing
shit.
Weird Al. And
Yeah.
then and then I got to meet him on the Late Late Show. He was a guest before Corden took over, and I
Hmm.
got to meet him and he signed. I like had my mom like send in like one of his albums for him to sign, and he signed an album for me and shit.
That's
So
awesome.
it's been cool. Yeah. I mean, you just got to put it out there. Go sleep with a knife under your pillow and good things will happen.
I mean, maybe that's the ticket. Maybe that's the way people become successful. Listen, just spend a couple nights in the Walmart parking lot with a knife and you'll be good. I mean, that's
Exactly.
how you sign your life away for this entertainment success that they call Hollywood. It's not the four crossroads, whatever, but that's fucking
No.
hilarious. But I'm curious too because I am also a partaker. So it's always the question that I hear in different like stoner podcast. Who's your Mount Rushmore? Because I mean, you have been able to partake with the one and only Snoop Dogg. So I mean, that's fucking crazy, and that's a story in itself. But I mean, who would you think is on your Mount Rushmore of stoners?
All right. I've smoked with Chappelle. I've
What the
smoked with
fuck?
Snoop. Um, I've smoked with uh David Crosby.
You're
Okay,
blowing
I've
my
smoked a
mind
lot
right
of
now,
cool
bro.
motherfuckers. Yeah. Smoked with some cool people.
Yeah.
Um, I have not smoked with Seth Rogen. I feel like
Mm,
that's inevitable. But
yeah,
I don't know if he's on my Mount Rushmore. It feels too accessible. Like I think
that's
Mount
fair.
Rushmore should be right? Like Mount
Yeah.
Rushmore should be like, what? There's no way. Like I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like Action Bronson is like one step removed from walking down the streets of Brooklyn into a bodega and there he is. Like it's
Right.
gonna
Oh,
so
that's fucking hilarious. And that man can cook too. I mean, you've also, cooked with like Gordon Ramsay and shit, but I mean, that man can cook too. So, I mean, it's always the best of both worlds when you meet a stoner who can also cook. It's like, all right, what are we whipping up now? Hopefully
yeah.
safely with no, no sharp knives around us. But, yeah, I put together a small one. Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa, Willie Nelson, and I put Seth Rogen because I'm not at your point yet. So I put Seth Rogen because he's one of my favorite actors and I love everything he's doing. I'm really looking forward to he's got an Apple television show in development right now that's like a comedy about the entertainment industry that I'm really curious to see how that's going to turn out.
Oh,
Um
cool. I didn't know
yeah.
that. That's exciting to
Hmm.
learn more on.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I mean, I feel like Apple, they haven't really gotten into the comedy space yet. I mean, they've got very deep into like the dramatic stuff. I mean, Masters of the Air with like Austin Butler about World War II or whatever. But I mean, the streaming world right now is really big in the comedy scene. I mean, of course, Netflix is at the head of the charge, but I mean, like we just talked about Max with Nikki Glazer, but then also I feel like Prime is like right behind Netflix because I mean they've been releasing Jim Gaffigan stuff for years. They released Trevor Wallace's stuff, and I saw that Eliza she just got a deal to release a couple new specials over there. So I mean, as a comedian, who would you feel like is your best streaming outlet? Who do you feel like your audience would gravitate more towards, or how do you feel like you would build your audience with one of your streamers?
My dream would be to be on HBO, or I guess it's
Mm,
called Max now.
yeah.
Max. Yeah. Yeah. I think that they have such a high standard for their content that they put out. They kind of,
hmm
as far as I'm concerned, really don't miss with anything that they've put out. I
That's
think
fair.
the stand-up specials that they decide to do are interesting. They're a little more avant-garde. They don't necessarily want you to just stand there with a microphone and talk about how cats and dogs are different. Like
Right.
they have a standard that is hard to crack.
hmm
And I think if I could be my open, heartfelt, funny self, tell crazy stories from my life, talk about things honestly, even though I'm very embarrassed about most of the things I've done in my life, and have that resonate with a max audience, I feel like
hmm
that's a turning point not only for them as a streamer, because you're going to reach a different audience than you already have.
Right.
Because right now, right, it's like Sopranos and Curb, and like you have hard edge, sharp shows,
hmm
and I don't see much of my kind of stuff on there, which maybe it doesn't fit for them, but I would argue that it brings in a brand new demographic that they currently might be missing by having people like myself be able to do even a 15-minute, short set on there about outie belly buttons and making a fool of myself at the NHL awards and having breakthroughs with my therapist Peter, and being diagnosed with bipolar. Like, put me out there and let me do my weird storytelling for a max audience. That would be cool.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And I while watching your special this morning, I was really thinking, and this would be perfect because some of his material is on there, but I mean, you really reminded me. Not a lot. But I felt I saw little sprinkles of like a George Carlin. Like you really kind of reminded me of
Ooh.
a George Carlin. So I mean, take that with what you will. I know he was very polarizing, but I feel like that's a pretty high compliment. But I just feel like, you're able to talk about real things like we were talking about with politics. And I saw your Nancy Pelosi video too. That was fucking hilarious about the atomic bomb. Uh and like to be able to talk about important things but in a comedic way. We always say the best form of entertainment or the best form of education is through entertainment, whether that be film, television, movies, comedy, or what have you. So I like I said, I'm very impressed with your work.
Thank you. That means a fuckload, dude. You have no idea, for a couple reasons. One is we filmed Life Rules in, what is it, 2020, in like maybe 2022, 2023. Like we
Yeah.
filmed it over a year ago.
Mm.
And I had a good I cut it in half. Like there's some jump cuts, there's some things that feel like standalone bits if you're watching
hmm
it now, where I had like whole sections that transition into that. Like I had a whole hour, but the by the time I was happy with the edit and we had some other things we had to handle behind the scenes, I had to get rid of all of my political stuff.
Mm.
And it just was, at the time it would have hit and it would have been good and it would have
Right.
spoken for itself. But a year had passed and too much had changed in our nation. And so I had to cut like 20 minutes of things that I really believed in. And I was really proud, like the Nancy Pelosi stuff you're talking about.
hmm
Like, I'm bringing it back now because it feels timely again.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, there's a whole half hour on the cutting room floor from that special of just like what I think is good political comedy that maybe it'll see the light of day sometime, but right now it's on that cutting room floor. So, and that's all a George Carlin kind of nudge. Like
Yeah.
I have all his books, dude.
Oh,
Like
I love that.
100%. Yeah, so that means a lot.
Of course, man. It's all about giving back and always about giving people their flowers, that's for sure. And I can definitely relate to you in the sense of, you want to put out something that's timely because we're writing a television show right now. That's a drama about the entertainment industry. And you know better than anyone else that the entertainment industry, it changes every other day. There could be something new or, something massive that breaks. So we're always trying to figure out what's most relevant for the time that we're going to put it out. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. And then plus, I mean, the writers and actors strikes that completely threw a wrench in our freaking plans because we were having conversations with Max and with HBO, and we have an insight at Netflix that all those conversations got put to the side because of all of these
Yeah.
things.
Have you seen Fall Guy yet?
I haven't seen Fall Guy yet. I
Dog, you
want to
gotta see
so
Fall
bad.
Guy. It is a love letter to the stunt union. Like, you
Yes.
want to talk about like putting everyone to work. Like, I
Yeah.
love a movie that's like, because you're right, all the strikes are happening,
Mm-hmm.
and so being like, well, then we're just gonna hire every single stunt person we can for one
Right.
film, get them work, get them their health insurance. Let's fucking go. Yo, you've got to support movies like Fall Guy, everybody,
Yep.
because it truly puts like food in mouths and union dues. Like, it's so important and it's so good.
Yes, completely agree. Completely agree. I mean, people don't even like the layman's people don't even think about that type of stuff. But I mean, the promotion they did with all of the stunt people on the red carpet and like all that stuff, they did that shit on purpose so that they can give these people jobs. And it's such a
Yeah,
beautiful things to see because like we care about each other. The entertainment industry cares about each other, unless you're a fucking asshole. But I
right.
mean, I mean that can get spread real quick. But yeah, man, it's such an amazing industry that we live in. And because I keep going back to that one TikTok where you're just so appreciative because there's so many instances where like you do get down on yourself, or at least I have personally. I've gotten down on myself. I'm like, okay, what the fuck am I doing? I feel like things aren't working. I'm not making the right connections. I took this trip out here to network and I feel like I didn't really get to network with people and all of these different things. But then when there's moments like that, like selling out Netflix as a joke fest, or like myself getting onto friends' red carpets and being able to network that way and to pitch our ideas to distribution panels and things like that. That's when we are reassured we're doing the right thing. Or just when we're having a conversation like this, like you and I are having right now, just genuine people in the entertainment industry to have a conversation about the entertainment industry to let the up and comers know there's going to be some fucking pitfalls. Be prepared. But there's so much beauty in this thing that I wouldn't want to be doing anything else.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you're making things too,
Yeah.
which is like, so there's no like you can smell a barnacle trying to hook onto your ship from a mile away, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, what are you doing, dog? Like, what are you
Yeah.
working on? Like, and you said you've got a script,
Mhm.
a drama script, and like, what kind of movies do you like? What inspires you?
So a little bit of everything. I really like Aaron Sorkin. I know that's kind of a basic bitch answer, but I love his writing. It's immaculate, to be honest. But right now,
Which stuff?
I mean, of course, The Social Network, but I've been going back and watching The West Wing recently with all
Hmm.
the shit that's going on in elections coming up and things like that. And it's crazy how timely that show is because there's shit that's happening in that show that is happening in today's time, which is wild. Um, but
I
I mean,
also
I
love that
also,
show, if I can, sorry, but like
you're
when
good.
the way that he writes dialogue so that you can shoot like 1,200 pages in a day because it's
Yeah.
like a hallway in the White House and then they
Hmm.
sit down in the Oval Office. Like the way that you can shoot page after page after page because of the clip that he writes at, it keeps budgets low. It means you can like make your days and there's a lot less editing to be done because if you cut into that close up, it's an impactful, meaningful close up. Otherwise, it's like a two shot wide, maybe a single, and like everything's seamless because of it. It makes everything cook in a way
Hmm.
that there isn't a bunch of like bells and whistles around it. It's letting the actors act. It's letting the script supervisor supervise. It's letting the dolly, like everyone can do their jobs at the highest level because of his like writing and how easy it makes it to make something.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, never before, at least not that I had seen or my business partner had seen, because he's a little bit older than me. He's actually my father-in-law, so he's like, 53, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But he's been saying every time West Wing gets brought up that that's the first time that a walking sequence like that has ever been shot. So what they were able to do with that type of stuff is absolutely amazing. But I've been really into like Guy Ritchie movies right now. The Covenant, that war flick, was really good with Jake Gyllenhaal. I
Nice.
like The Gentleman, both the series and the
I watched it
movie.
last night. I watched
Yeah,
both of them in the last 2 nights. I watched the Gentleman film 2 nights ago.
yeah.
I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, I mean, there's so much content out right now. It's kind of hard to, ingest it all. That's for sure. So I've been like watching more movies and less television shows. Just because, I want to grab inspiration from movies and trying to write movies and things like that. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. I even started a Google document about fucking different actors like most popular movies that I haven't seen yet. So I'm just trying to go through and check off fucking shit. So it's been
Dude,
hard,
that's
man.
so
It's been fucking
exciting.
hard.
That's awesome. I love movies so much. Like, I think that I thought I had moved out here because I did like Second City Chicago and
Yeah.
loved that and like got to work in sketch and improv and some
Hmm.
directing and it was all great. I think I didn't know it when I moved out here, but I think I moved out here for the movies. I really
Yeah.
do. I just don't think I realized it because I was so immersed in like live comedy.
Hmm.
But I would spend every waking moment I could either watching a movie at home or like I'm an AMC A-lister. I
Yeah.
go to the movies all the time. I just walk down the street to the AMC and
Hmm.
I'll just see every single thing. Like, I thought Poor Things. I saw like Poor Things in the theater. It was great. I saw
Yeah.
Dune 2 at IMAX. Um,
I bet
like
that was
I'm trying to
awesome.
see things as they were intended. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, honor the vision as much as I can.
Did you see Civil War?
Should I see it? I don't know anything about it.
Oh man, Civil War. I mean, it's kind of like what we've been talking about. It's kind of like a political thriller. So definitely look at that trailer afterwards. It got Kirsten Dunst in it. It's amazing. It's my favorite film of 2024 so far.
Wow.
So I gave it a 5 out of 5 on my letterbox, bro. Like I would definitely look at that film and yeah, it's one of those that you're like, what the fuck am I watching right now? Because it's basically like what if there was an uprising of like they call it the Western Front, Texas and California merged together to overthrow the government.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's very hardcore and it's told from the journalist point of view, which is interesting because right now, I mean, the journalist would be the one egging this shit on. So it's a very interesting film, and I would love to hear your opinions about it after you see it.
Ooh, exciting. I'll let you know, dude, because I'm not gonna not see it. Like, of course. Like, let's
Exactly.
go. Yeah.
I love it. I
100%.
love it. Well, listen, man, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for your time this evening. It's crazy because we're almost at like 45 minutes. So that's fucking wild. I mean, time just flies when you're having fun. I mean, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Is that a camera behind you in the upper corner?
Yeah, I got a projector right here. That's a Kodak Brownie projector. And then I have this new camera right here that I haven't really done much research on. But then I got an old Polaroid right there. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
so
I'm
sick.
I'm very deep into because my business partner and I we're co-directors. So he's very actor based and I'm very cinematography based. So I know the shots and I can see the vision in my head, but he can see the emotions and things like that. But yeah, I love it. I love everything about it.
Wait, before we go, so what are you into? Like verite? Do you like kind of like fly on the wall shooting, like kind of stuff, or do you like more like that kind of like steady cam, like you want to like get the wide, get the close up, get the over the shoulder? Like where do you fall in for your cinematography?
A little bit of everything, to be honest, but I come from a broadcast journalism background, so I'm always a fan of like handheld as well. I know it can be a little shaky at times, but if you get that right person, like it'll feel natural.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little bit of everything. I think cinematography and what camera shots do, I always go back to and this is what we modeled our first film after is 12 Angry Men. So where like the more engulfed in the story that gets told, like the tighter the shots get and the closer they get to your face and the emotion that it's portraying through the camera that, the audiences don't even realize they're getting more anxious because of the camera movements. Like that's the
Yeah.
stuff that gets me going, that's for sure.
That's awesome. We're having such a moment in comedy, especially like shorts, like TikTok or SNL of like handheld sketch, where
Yeah.
it used to be you have to set up like all these shots and it had to be, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's just like whip pans left and right between people
Yeah.
talking and
Yeah.
like, and zooming in on somebody's face at like, and I just love it. I love how sketch is being shot right now. It's a real moment for like kind of like quick and dirty with the funniest lines possible.
No, I completely agree. And I mean, the state of comedy right now, I mean, I feel like it goes through waves like everything else, but I mean, it's at a really high point right now. I mean, would you agree with that?
Dude, better than ever.
Yeah, that's what
Better
I'm
than
saying.
ever.
Yeah.
There are like you can just make shit. Hopefully people see it. But if not, you get to keep making things. Like you don't need permission to do anything. There are
Hmm.
certainly gatekeepers. There's always going to be money as a gatekeeper.
Of course.
There's always going to be access to places like HBO Max or Max, whatever, as a gatekeeper. But I got Netflix Fest through LinkedIn, and now I have a bunch of meetings with reps next week because
Yes.
I crushed my fucking special. Like
Hell yeah.
all of it can happen. You've just got to keep putting yourself out there and making things. And then hopefully you get some big breaks. And hopefully you're really nice and people like you so that when you come up in conversation, you're spoken well of as well.
Yeah, completely agree. That's the thing, man. You have to be just a genuine human being. I mean, they always say it's a dog eat dog world, and I mean, in some retrospect, it is. But as long as you approach everything with respect and like kindness and being just a genuine human being, not a fucking asshole, like I feel
Mhm.
like you'll get pretty far. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
people will remember you, you know.
Like I've
But I
got
mean,
my nemesis, I've got my people I don't fuck with, and
exactly.
it's a list. I got my list, and I just, it is what it is. I don't mess with them, and I'm sure I'm on somebody's list as well for something
Right.
that I didn't mean to do, or maybe I did something that was in my best interest but hurt. Who knows? I'm sure I'm on a list. I got my own list. We all got lists, but there's a ton of people in this world, so that's how it goes sometimes.
Exactly, man.
Wait, I don't want to end
Exactly.
this podcast being like, I have a lot of enemies.
And
Like, I don't want to end on
fuck
that.
everybody, you know. That is so funny. But I mean, what are you watching right now? Let's end it on a positive note. What are you watching right now? What gets you inspired as far as entertainment wise, I guess?
Okay, so I just binged Three Body Problem on Netflix. That was
Yeah,
pretty good. I
I've
think
heard
The
it was.
Gentleman is a good series.
Hmm.
Top Chef Wisconsin, I'm watching right now, but
Yeah.
I don't think that it's as good as other seasons. I think this
Mm,
caliber of chef is they're playing it a little too safe. They're not really pushing themselves to do something
right.
creative and magnificent. We've all seen a mole. Show me
Hmm.
your spin on a mole. I'm not too interested in a standard mole if you're on Top Chef. I What else am I watching right now? Um, I tried to watch Palm. It's Palm something on Apple
Yeah.
Plus
Hmm.
with Kristen Wiig, I think. I just started that. Um, I'm so stoked. I'm gonna go. This is my buddy Joel Hadley, who's
Hmm.
I'm after this, I'm gonna go edit my Netflix Fest special and drop that on YouTube too.
Nice.
And my friend Joel Hadley introduced me and on the special, and I was texting him last night when I was walking home from Fall Guy,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Have you seen Fall Guy?" He goes, "No," and I was like, "I need to see more stunt movies."
Mm.
I'm gonna go to his place tomorrow. I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood before. Have you seen that?
Bro, it is great. Yes.
Okay, sick. I'm so stoked.
Yes, you'll love it. It's a classic Tarantino film, love letter to Hollywood, that's for sure.
Ah, I can't wait. I can't wait. So that's what I'm doing tomorrow.
Nice. I love that. I love that. Well, I mean, this is the part where we just have you promote, man. What do you want to promote? Social media, your special, all the good things.
Yeah, my special's on YouTube. It's called Life Rules. And also on there soon, if you want to subscribe to my YouTube, I'm going to drop my Netflix Fest special, which is a brand new half hour. I went on tour for 3 weeks, wrote a new half hour, and honestly, I think it's fucking good. It crushed. So check out my Netflix Fest special too when that comes out. My Instagram's Glazer Boohoo. My TikTok is Glazer Jokes, Glazer Boohoo, Glazer Jokes, and uh and Perrier. I think they changed their bubble recipe. I think they're trying to be too much like Topo Chico, and they've changed their branding, and I'm not here for it. Stick with what works, Perrier.
I love it. I love it. We'll have to have you back on because Dustin is super big into cooking and all of that. I'm trying to watch the one that's like the 24 hours thing right now. I don't remember which one where they're literally cooking for 24 hours straight. I
Oh
think it's on
wow.
Max. I think. I don't know. But I'll be sure to I can direct message you on Instagram afterwards, but because I
Yeah,
now know
please.
you're into cooking. But yeah, man, again, thank you so much for coming on and getting a little crazy with us. Like I said, you're an amazing individual, and maybe we can even have you on the mental health one as well, because there's some stuff that we didn't even dive into in this one, but I wanted to keep it more lively and more upbeat. But thank you for your time today, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you, man. Peace.
Bye. Oh my goodness. Absolutely amazing, guys. I am so thankful that that went so well. That was an amazing conversation. Mike Glazer on YouTube. Be sure to check out his special. It is very good. It's nothing crazy long either. It's not over an hour. It's like 39 minutes, 40 minutes. Be sure to check that out on YouTube. And I felt like that was it was a great testament to where comedy is right now and where comedy is going, because they're at an all-time high, like we just talked about. So please be sure to check out local comedians, new up-and-coming comedians, as well as your favorite. It's always a good time. But thank you again, Mike Glazer, for coming on the show. All right, now it is time for the top 5 segment, man. And this week it is DC comic book characters that we would like to see have their own film. We want solo films for these DC characters.
Yes.
So it's going to be very interesting because I have a loose amount of knowledge about DC characters because I've said before, DC comics weren't my favorite growing up. And I love Batman, but I never really experienced anything else until Zack Snyder started releasing all this stuff, and it really wasn't my cup of tea. But I love what they're trying to do with this new Superman. So I'm excited to maybe jump on a Superman bandwagon. So we'll see, right?
Yeah. This is
a lot of good lists, or a lot of good people on our list, I feel like.
Yeah. And I'm excited to dive into it because I feel like these have all been hinted at, but haven't seen any movement. And it's time they see some movement. Call us, Gun. Call us. That's all I'm saying.
That's right, man. That's right. Well, number 5 for me goes to Harvey Bullock. Man, oh man. If you guys don't know, he's kind of like a shady detective that worked with Gordon before Gordon was Commissioner Gordon. This guy, I feel like it could be a super like police shady noir type of show or type of film. I think, set in the Matt Reeves universe, it would do great because it is very based in reality. You wouldn't need to go crazy. You could still stick with the underworld theme, and hopefully he'll pop up in the Penguin series. I think that would be
cool. Would be awesome.
Yeah, but I think there's so many different possibilities with different characters that don't necessarily have the superhero persona, and I think this is a perfect example of that. So my number 5, Harvey Bullock.
There you go. I like it. It'd be interesting to see on how they would do, which direction they would go with that. That would be really cool.
Right.
My number 5, this one's been hinted at a lot, guys, and I really would love to see it if it's done right, if it's done correctly. I'm talking about Slade Wilson himself, Deathstroke. A lot of people are confused by this, but because of all the recent events and all of the recent stuff, they associate him as a Batman villain. But this guy first popped up in New Teen Titans number 2. Issue number 2. And he became their enemy because he blamed them for his son dying. He thought that the Titans killed his son, but it really wasn't. It was the shit that he was taking to try to become like his dad, and he burnt out and it killed his body. But he's a very interesting guy. He's a war hero that volunteered to take the juice, like the super soldier serum, basically, to become, enhanced. And just because of the series of stuff that he's been through and the kind of stuff that he dealt with or whatever, he starts basically going dark, and he becomes an assassin, and he's a paid gun, and he goes after people. But he's got a code. He's got a code, and he only goes after people he thinks deserve to die. He's kind of like a mix between Captain America and the Punisher, which is really weird, right? But it's a really interesting dynamic character, and I think if they went about it right, and you kind of do just a little quick with the pacing, but highlight his military career, show where he starts to go dark, how it starts, and then just jump in and go for it and have him be, I think it would be a kick-ass film and could progress into a series of films, honestly. I just think it would be brilliant. So let's get it done. We've seen great interpretations of the character on Arrow. We saw him on Titans. We saw him briefly in Justice League. But I think it's time. I think it's time this guy got his own film. Let's do it. Deathstroke, my number 5.
Nice. Number 4 for me goes to Martian Manhunter. I think this would be a cool character to have come to life and have their own solo film, because I feel like it could be very Guardians of the Galaxy-esque, but it could also be like a kind of like an undercover spy thriller as well, because he can transform into different people. I think that's pretty freaking dope. And I mean, with him being from Mars, he can be kind of like smuggling intelligence and information back to his home planet, especially in the beginning when, because if not a lot of people know, there is at point in times where you're uncomfortable with the unknown, and that happened with the Justice League, right? Where they were like fighting against Martian Manhunter, and then like, okay, you're actually cool, you can be a part of us. I think I got that correct. Is that right, Mr. Comic Book?
You're real close. You're really close.
Yeah,
so
I'm right there.
that was
It's
impressive.
fine.
Oh,
But yeah, I feel like, that would be kind of cool, because it could be like a spy thriller where they're going back and forth, smuggling info and smuggling intel, but then actually like, oh, we actually need to help these people, not do all this shit. But,
well,
they hinted at it so much, especially in Zack Snyder's Justice League, that 4-hour one. So yeah, I really wish they would have, expanded more on that character and that franchise. But we're looking forward to the next franchise, and maybe he'll pop up there later down the line. We'll see how it goes.
maybe. And I got to tell you, I like the idea of, how they're getting ready to release Spider-Man Noir, right, with Nicolas Cage or whatever. I like what you said, because Martian Manhunter, if you aren't comic book geeks out there and you don't know, when he disguises himself, he becomes John Jones, because his Martian name is John Jones, however you say it. But it's John Jones. He's a private investigator. So, and he wears the trench coat and the hat. And I feel like if you went, maybe set it in the 30s or 40s and do a noir, a black and white noir type private investigator type movie, I think that'd be fucking brilliant. I would love to see that. And then have him be the Martian, and like, when did he actually come to Earth? Are there more of him or whatever? But I love that idea. Focus hard on his background as a private investigator and hiding in plain sight in society. I fucking love that. I think it would be a great movie.
Right.
Yeah, good choice, man. Number 4, Martian Manhunter. My number 4, it just seems obvious. We've hinted at Black Canary. We've seen her, in Harley Quinn's movies and stuff. But this duo is one of the most iconic duos in DC Comics history. Green Arrow and Black Canary. Their love story is something fierce, and it's ugly. It's rough, because they're flawed individuals. Anybody who knows the story of Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, He's a raging alcoholic. He becomes an alcoholic and down and out. And he was really rich, and he was like the billionaire playboy, equal to kind of like Batman. And then he just hits Skid Row, man, and he kind of goes down. He loses his fortune, and he becomes just, it's a really dark path that he takes. Kevin Smith wrote a series of comic books about Green Arrow, which were freaking phenomenal. And that dark kind of version. But his lady love, Canary, she's there, and she's the one who kind of always pulls him out of trouble and kind of gets him straight and is his support. And but it's ugly, because she's got her own flaws that she kind of deals with. But I think this would make for an amazing film if you focus on the dark and gritty. I think you should take it at the top of, he's the peak of his success in his career, and he's like, and then that's the start, and boom, the teaser, and then you go straight in. He's lost everything. Now he's on the streets. He's drunk, and just take it from there. And I think it would be a really dark, gritty movie. Yeah, Green Arrow and Black Canary. I'd like to see them in a film. It'd be great.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Number 3 for me goes to Static Shock. Now, this superhero was introduced to me during the animated television show back in the early 2000s. I loved it because, I mean, it's kind of like DC's version of Spider-Man, loosely. To where, it's a teenage kid just trying to do what he can for his neighborhood and be as, respectable as possible, but then while learning how to be a superhero, you mess up and all of those things. I always love teenage angst meets superhero because that's kind of like, trying to live up to your potential and your expectations, but also trying to also be the kid that you are. So it's always very interesting, and I love it too because it would be very much like a Miles Morales Spider-Man type of thing.
Yeah.
Which we need more diversity, especially in superhero films. So I would love to see that. It was a very popular TV show. It didn't. I mean, in total, it went like 52 episodes, something like that. So it's probably like 2 or 3 seasons, which is kind of decent for an animated series, especially at that time period.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I love that character, and I think he would resonate really well in today's climate. So yeah, number 3 for me, Static Shock.
I love it. I love it. My number 3 is another character who I think we could just really dive into the history of. And there's a lot of different ways you can go with the story, but I have one that I'd like to see. I'm talking about Barbara Gordon herself, Batgirl. I think this would make an incredible movie, and maybe it was, but we're never going to see it. So can we try again and get it fucking made, David Zaslav? I would like to see the story of how do you come out of the shadow of your dad, right? You're growing up in the shadow of Commissioner Gordon and everything that Commissioner Gordon was. He was like a storybook hero kind of a character before Batman's arrival. So she's been living in the shadow of Commissioner Gordon and his fame and his rise up through the ranks even before Batman gets there. And so the struggle of that, then Batman arrives and the focal attention of Daddy is all on him and not you. And you were already struggling to try to overcome the shadow of him. So how do you step out from that and prove yourself and be your own person? And I think that would make for a really interesting story, right? I feel like the initial, well, I'm going to be Batgirl because all you do is pay attention to Batman, so I'm going to do this kind. But it's like a coming of age, finding out who you really are type of a story. And how do you set your own identity after coming out from the shadows of 2 iconic giant figures that you're living under? And I think it would be an awesome movie. I really do. They could play heavily into her detective skills. We don't see that nearly enough with Batman, although Pattinson's Batman, now we are starting to see that. But this is a woman who grew up under Commissioner Gordon, one of the all-time greatest detectives in, Gotham City Police. And so she's got some skill. I think they could play into that and go, not only can she kick some ass, but she's also a really good fucking detective and probably could have been a great cop. And so, I don't know. I think that storyline would be badass. So, come on, give it to us. Let's see Babs. And then maybe you take it down that dark turn. Maybe we see the Killing Joke at some point.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, just saying.
Just saying. My number 2 goes to Changeling himself, Beast Boy. I would love to see an origin story of Beast Boy because, I mean, his parents were abusive scientists who, experimented, but then, of course, everybody knows the story. He gets, this disease that, is going to kill him, but then his parents, in turn, experiment on him to try to save his life. Kind of like a Morbius type of thing. But I love this character too because he's so genuine in every iteration that I've seen him in and everything that I've learned about him. He's so genuine. He's always a very humble individual that just wants to protect his friends and the people who he calls his family. But to come from, that abusive background to joining either Doom Patrol or the Titans. I think that would be such an interesting thing to see along the way. And I mean, it's always so cool to see different iterations of costumes too. And this guy's had so many different costumes. So to be able to try to play with those in the origin film, I feel like would be very fun. But yeah, man, I love Beast Boy. He's always been one of my all-time favorite DC characters, so I would love to see an origin story on him. Now, my number 2, Beast Boy.
There you go, and kudos, A+ for throwing in Changeling. That's a very
right.
Well done. He started off as Beast Boy, then he became Changeling for his run in the Titans, and then he went excuse me. Then he went back to Beast Boy. So yeah, well done through referencing Changeling. I love it. Yeah, he's an interesting character. He really is. And I thought his Marv Wolfman and George Perez's run with him in the Titans was really well done. And I would like to see more of him.
Right.
My number 2, this has been talked about numerous times, and it has to happen. We reference all the time in every Superman movie how legendary Lois Lane is, right? My number 2, Lois Lane. How she was this award-winning, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, and she puts herself in danger, and she takes down criminals, and she does all this stuff. And then all we see her is really the fluff piece next to Superman. And I'm like, why even reference what a badass she was and then never show what a badass she is? I would love to see a full-on, full-out solo movie of Lois Lane pre-Superman. Let's see her be that badass fucking investigative journalist taking down gangsters and doing her shit. I want to see that. There's so many different avenues that you could take with that movie. She could take down the mafia. She could take political corruption down. There's so many different ways that stories that you could take her with. And I think it would be really exciting to finally see the legend that we refer to all the time but never actually see. She shouldn't take a second seat to Superman. I just don't ever think that was the right thing to do. Now, Margot Kidder's version of it back in the 78 version, she was feisty. She was getting herself in trouble. She was going after stories, but still not to the level that they bill her as. So I would really love to see that. I have a great story. I'm just saying. A great story all about Lois and Lex, who's actually a good guy, and Batman, who maybe not. Huh? And this is prior to Superman even showing up. This is a really dark, gritty. I want James Gunn to give me permission to make this fan film. That's all I'm saying. James, call me, man. I got a story for this fucking Lois Lane movie, okay? All right? Let's get that shit done. I'm just saying. My number 2, LL, Lois Lane. Let's do it.
I love it. Well, my number 1 goes to a specific Red Hood. And I'm talking about Jason Todd's Red Hood.
Yes.
Because the first iteration of Red Hood was the Joker before he became the Joker, if not a lot of people know. But I love Jason Todd, and I love what Red Hood is, because he is basically Batman with guns. Basically, Batman, who decides to say, fuck it, fuck everything else. I am going to be a very violent vigilante, and no matter what it is, I am going to do what I think is right. And I think that is it's an interesting character dynamic, because it's kind of like a Deadpool situation where it's like an anti-hero, but he's always on your side, but he'll probably do some bad things for you. But I just feel like, what that character brings to the table. And I mean, we've always talked about too, we would love to see like a Bat family film with, Red Hood and freaking Nightwing, and maybe either not Jason Todd, but either Damian Wayne or freaking
Tim Drake.
Other dude. Yeah. I mean, I just feel like that would be an amazing thing to see. And I feel like Red Hood in general, I think that would be a very fun, violent, rated R DC film. And I would love to see that. We see the success with Deadpool on the Marvel side. We could see the same success with Red Hood on the DC side.
No doubt.
So that's just my opinion. Number 1 for me, Red Hood.
So that's interesting, because we say that we want to see these in solo films, but I'm going along the same line as you. And so my number 1, while I would love to see a film, I'm thinking it makes more sense, especially like with what you just said, is a series. And very much like Daredevil, if you did it like Daredevil. My number 1 is Nightwing. And Dick Grayson is a complex character. You can basically take everything that I just said about Babs, about Barbara Gordon, and put it on Dick Grayson. This is a kid who's taken in and has to come out of literally the biggest shadow of all, Batman, and find his own identity. And the whole time Batman is like wanting him to be him. And it's like, but I'm not you. I'm not that guy. And finding who he is and establishing himself as who he wants to be in the world outside of Bruce Wayne and Batman, I think is just a phenomenal story and character-driven story. And his series in the comic books is very much like a Daredevil type thing. You know, he moves to Bloodhaven, and it's a dark, gritty Hell's Kitchen type of a city that he lives in. And he's taking down street-level thugs and gangsters. And he's not fighting world-beating aliens and shit like that. He's a down-to-earth thug, you know, kind of a hero. And he works for the police department, right? Again, like Barbara, he's coming out of being taught by the master detective of all. It only makes sense that Dick's got some tricks now, and he takes it to the police department and becomes a kick-ass detective. I just think that if you do this in the vein of a Daredevil type series, and you show the dark, gritty, you know, show him as a cop working the streets, but then by night when he can't get it done as a cop, he's Nightwing, and he does what he has to do to get it done while trying not to cross the line like Batman, right? Like sometimes he doesn't want to be. I think it would just be, and then playing into what you said. If we take Batgirl, if we take Red Hood, if we take Tim Drake, and we put them in their series, and we build that little universe, and then like the Defenders thing, you bring them together for the Bat family thing, I think a dark rated R version of Jason Todd and Red Hood, a dark rated R version of Nightwing, a dark rated R version of Batgirl, and you bring them all together at some point in a holy shit, that would be badass. Now whether you did that in a movie or not, I only say series now because I feel like you need time to develop their stories, their backstories, why they are the way they are and who they are at this point. And I feel like that takes time to establish, and you can't always do that in a 2-hour movie, right? But holy fuck, man, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? Just to see a Bat family without Batman at first. Let's bring all the deranged little kids that Batman fucked up and bring them together and be like, man, how did we ever survive this crazy motherfucker? And then, dude, I love it, man. My number one, Nightwing, and yeah, let's do a fucking Bat family, man. Come on, fuck.
It would be great.
That would be great. So
That's
good.
For sure. But we want to know, what is your top 5 DC comic book characters that deserve their own solo film or their one? Please be sure to comment below in the YouTube comment section, podcast comment section, or at us on X or Threads, all the good places, man. We love the fan interaction, and we know that y'all out there are fans of superheroes. So be sure to comment where we say it.
Hit us with it.
Well, we're going over to the box office recap, and lackluster. I mean, people are expecting more out of this film. It just kind of shows right now that sometimes people aren't necessarily the biggest fan of original IP, which is so sad to see as far as like box office results.
It is.
I'm talking about If, John Krasinski's and Ryan Reynolds' If, came in at number 1 with $33.7 million. That is a good amount of money, but the budget was way more than that. So it's probably going to end up taking a bath. Hopefully it'll do good on streaming services. I feel like it will.
I think so.
Number 2 was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes with $25.4 million. That's awesome for its second weekend, third weekend. I think it's second.
Third, I think. Yeah.
Third, nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Now the number 3 was Strangers Chapter 1 with $11.8 million. It just shows that the horror genre is definitely the thing keeping the theaters, keeping the studios alive. That's for sure. They're so inexpensive to make, and they normally get a good amount of revenue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the horror genre is definitely keeping the entertainment industry afloat, in my opinion. Number 5 was Challengers with $2.8 million. That's awesome that it's still in the top 5 and making that amount of money, because it came out forever ago, and that was an expensive film. I'm sure just due to casting revenue. So, all good things.
And you just breezed right over the Fall Guy, bro, at number 4. You went straight from horror to Challengers. Just left my boy in the dust.
I know. Fall Guy came in at number 4 with 8.3. That's what it was. 8.3. They did good, too. They did good.
It's interesting what you said about If, though, because all this week, Kingdom went back on top. It's been beating If throughout the week.
Yeah,
so
I bet.
it's sad, man, because if if a
If.
movie like that that's stacked with a cast like that can't do well, then what are we saying right now? Like you said about, original. It's just sad, man. It's sad.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we keep going back to the same old successful IP like Lion King and freaking, which isn't. I'm excited for those films, but we need original stories too. That's for sure.
George Lucas agrees with you. Did you see his statement today? They asked him about where he sees cinema 10 years from now. And he said exactly where it is right now, because the studios don't know what original content is. They've forgotten how to see original content. They just keep making the same shit over and over and over. Literally. And he's right. So it's time, man. We got original filmmakers out there with a lot of great stories to tell. Just fucking start buying it. Come on.
Exactly. Completely agree. Well, new movies coming out this weekend. We talked about this one, Fruoja, a Mad Max saga, the Garfield movie. Hopefully nobody gets in any more fights over that. Sight, Turbo, and Love Me in select theaters, possibly near you. And then, of course, movies you can still go see. Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse biopic, Unsung Hero, Civil War, Kung Fu Panda 4, and Terriot. So there are a couple ones that are coming to streamers here soon, so be sure to keep that in mind and keep looking through them. Now going over to the IMDbPro's Top Trending segment. The top trending movie is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. The top trending show is Bridgerton. And the top trending star is Malian Ackerman. I do not know who that is.
Malin Ackerman. She is she was on Billions the first season. She was Bobby's wife. And she's currently right here where I'm at filming The Hunting Wives. Nice. So I don't know why she's trending right now, because Hunting Wives isn't out yet. They haven't really released a lot about it right now. So I don't know what jumped her up to be the top trending star. She's a phenomenal actress though. She's great. She's a lovely human being. So glad to see her up there, and I can't wait to see the series. I've kind of seen the pilot. I know what the pilot's about, and it's going to be a great show. So yeah, I'm excited. So congrats, Malin. But I have truly no idea why she's trending right now. So
right, that's funny. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for getting crazy with us on episode 260. Absolutely wild.
Yes.
We got to thank our guest one more time, Mike Glazer, for coming on the show. Be sure to follow him on Instagram, and he's on X as well. Glazer Boo-hoo-hoo.
Yes.
That's what he's at. Glazer Boo-hoo-hoo. Be sure to follow us on social media. Of course, our new film page, the LP Film, where you can see all the latest and greatest updates that has going on here at Crazy Ant Media with the film. And of course, the podcast at ITCAFpodcast, the company at Crazy Ant Media, and then our other podcast, the sister one, Everything's OKP. Be sure to follow all of those on social media. We just had an episode of Everything's Okay come out this past week about social media, and Dustin and I got into the nitty-gritty. And if you've been following us for a while, you probably even were following the old account and then followed the new account.
Yeah.
And we touched a little bit on that, which was so fun, because that's always been something that's like, I don't know about you, but for me, it's always like just there. It's always just like,
well, yeah, having to start over when we had a massive following, and having to start over for a reason that just should not have been a reason is, it's always right there. It's always right there.
But it's nice to be able to talk about it. And I mean, especially on the mental health podcast.
Yeah.
I felt like I articulated it very well to where it wasn't like bashing or anything. So
no, it is what it is. I mean, it's just fact. It is what it is. So
exactly. If you guys want to know what we're talking about, be sure to head over to Everything's Okay podcast, episode 27, about social media. And be sure to follow us both personally on social media, myself at J Logan Austin and
at Crazy Ant CEO.
That's right, buddy. That is right. And you guys know you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere you listen to your podcasts. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, and so much more. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, we appreciate you.
Yes.
Really, because we went over our 300 subscribers today, so we really appreciate you. We're right around the corner from 500, and then 1,000, and then 2,000, and then 5,000, and all the things.
Yes.
So we appreciate you guys for sticking along and spreading the word about Crazy Ant Media. Y'all are amazing. We really can't do this without you.
We can't.
And then, of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. But man, oh man, what an amazing episode, and what a time to be alive. That's for sure. I mean, I really enjoyed all of the industry news. I mean, my favorite part of the show was probably the interview, because it's always best to step outside of your comfort zone and be able to do that. And I had like such an adrenaline rush after doing it. So it felt really good to be able to do that. But it was a great industry news, man. I'm excited about all the new stuff coming, and some stuff that we didn't touch on. Walker getting canceled. The CW is basically going to be nothing here soon.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening in the entertainment industry that we're really excited about.
Yeah, I think Jared will be okay. Eric Kripke immediately said now he can go get the big boy. He's been wanting to reunite all of them. He already got Daddy. He already got Jensen, and now he's able. He said apparently the whole issue was he just was too busy. He never had time to where they could work him in. So now you'll get the full family, man. All the Winchesters back on The Boys. So,
yes.
I think Jared will be okay. I think he'll be all right.
That is for sure, man. That is for sure. Well, what was your favorite part of the industry news or the show? What were you thinking that was your favorite thing?
Well, you know what I'm most excited about is the resurgence of Marvel doing it correctly, right?
Yeah.
Taking the time to make it right. They're strategically picking showrunners who fit what they're trying to tell, right? And they're going the right route with that. And I'm really excited to see that. And that had me fired up. I'm really good. And then this may sound weird, but one of my favorite things is to talk about when I'm not happy, and that was the cancellation of the girls on the bus. I get fired up. I like to get angry, and I hate David. Like, I just don't think this guy should be running that historic freaking studio, man. Just, like, spin Discovery back off to its own fucking self and just get out of the way of Warner Brothers, man. You're killing it. Man. And I loved our top 5, man. Anytime we can dive in and just give our opinions on stuff, I love it, man.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to see. Let's look. What's this Warner Brothers Discovery stock at right now? Because it is not great.
It is sitting at $7.72.
Sheesh, that is wild.
Yeah, man, $7.72.
That's so sad.
When you think about what it was just, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and what it's sitting at now, man, just
it's a shame.
Not good.
Shame. Maybe we need somebody to step in to the Warner Brothers lot.
She's been doing a lot of stuff with Warner Brothers, right?
Exactly. Ozempic, Miss Ozempic herself, the one, the only.
Oprah!